What's up, Starcraft fans? Today we're doing the tier list for Blast from the Past on Temple of the Past. Ryan, let's hear the mutation.
Temple of the Past is the map where we have to protect a temple in the center of the map from waves of enemy units. If the temple survives until the end of the game, we win. If the enemies destroy the temple, we lose. Hybrids explode upon death. Amon steals your buildings when he destroys them.
We have Tutu and Zero in the call with us today. How are you guys?
Fine.
Alright, fantastic. Tutu, how will we rank the commanders this week?
This one, it's basically just mutually assured destruction. A few commanders care about Eminent Domain, but it's, just how you deal with mutually assured destruction. There's actually a bit of luck involved because if you get hybrid Reavers, they are far more dangerous than the other hybrids, and they're also the notorious air hybrids that tend to fly past your stuff, and if they go to the temple and you fight them there, they're going to explode there and kill the temple.
Yes.
So yeah, basically, it's just how you deal with mutually assured destruction.
There's a 1B theater. How about you, Zero?
Yeah, like Tutu said, this is literally just mutually assured destruction for the most part. Eminent Domain may annoy some commanders, but it's not that big of a deal for most. And yeah, this map has a lot of hybrid, so you're gonna have to really be careful with them.
Lots and lots of hybrid. Okay, let's begin. Abathur, where do we have him?
So Abathur, his toxiness, they are no longer taken over by Amon, so that's good. You're pretty much gonna play normally, and then by the time the hybrids come, if it's a ground hybrid, they can just walk over Toxic Nest and blow up if you don't want to risk getting blown up by the last shot. You can also kite with the symbiotes of the Brutalists, and that should be fine. If you're using Swarm Hosts, you can hit them from a distance, and that's also pretty easy. So yeah, I think he's fair. He's fine here. I put him in A.
A? Okay. How about you, Zero?
I also have him A tier. Personally, I just did Ravagers with P1, and that worked fine. So I guess you have a few options.
Okay.
Either way, I think he's good. You kind of have to still micro against the hybrid. You can't tank the nukes, and while your units by either Swarmhosts or Ravagers are decently long range, you kind of have to micro them still. So, which is why I don't think he's S tier. So I'll put him in A.
All right. Do you think? How do you deal with the air hybrids flying past everything?
You put enough spores so that they get hit.
That makes sense. All right.
If you hit them enough, they start to turn around and fight you.
That
or
makes
you
sense.
kill them.
Can you abduct them with Vipers?
No, they're heroic.
No.
They're heroic. That's unfortunate. All right. So Abathur in A tier. The A in Abathur is for A tier. There we go.
I guess.
Yeah.
As a general rule, you don't want to put buildings around the temple because that's when sometimes the tunas will just stop and fight a building. So if there are no buildings along the path, they will just keep going to the other side.
Okay.
So
So
you don't put buildings around the temple.
So what prestige do we use here?
I'd recommend 1, but I think
Anyone but
anything
3.
above P3. Yeah.
Anyone but third one. Okay. Let's move on. Our Alarak, where do we have him?
Alarak, so I guess he kind of deals pretty well with mutual assured destruction as long as you're staying at the distance, which he doesn't really have much issue with, especially because Alarak can just knock back the hybrid, and if the hybrid explodes on Alarak purely, that's only one supplicant down, which you don't really care about. Yeah, the waves themselves won't really be a threat because Ascendants just throw their orbs and everything dies. Then for the hybrid, you just mind blast them, and then every so often just push them back with Alarak.
Mind
You got
blast
a decent
pretty
amount of mobility. So with the mothership teleports, so you can deal with multiple sides at the same time. Well, not at the same time. It's just you go to the end of one side, you kill everything there, then you teleport to the other. Yeah, you kind of have to be careful to not mess up because you don't want your ascendants getting nuked. But I think if you can handle that, I think he's S tier personally.
Okay. How about you, Tutu?
I don't think he requires a lot of micro and spacing. So he's really good for all the reasons said earlier. And you can also add Wrathwalkers to move so you can attack while moving back. Alarak pushes, the Wrathwalkers can continue to shoot them like the Tunas.
Huh?
I think A. I put him in A.
Okay. Zero, will you make an argument for S, or do we settle for A?
I'm fine with 8 here. He is, I guess, on the harder side to use. So it just depends on how confident you are with Alarak.
All right. What prestige we want here? Third one?
Third one.
Yeah, I'll say P3.
All right. Okay, let's continue. Alarak in A tier, and we use the third one here. Arcturus, where do we have him?
He is one of the commanders that actually cares about mutually assured destruction. Because if you lose a bunker, you're gonna like all the dudes inside become Amons, and they're pretty strong. So yeah, if you have to like, especially if they're melee hybrid, they have a lot of HP. When they come like one at a time, it's okay. But when there's like 3 or 4 of them coming at the same time, it's quite dangerous. So I suppose you can ESO the ground ones. The air ones, when they fly by, sometimes they'll even fly past you, and when they engage, they're within range, and you can't really get out. So you kill them, and then they're going to explode and blow up your stuff. So it's not really safe. That's a issue with tower commanders. I think otherwise he's still okay. He's still pretty good. So I put him in B.
B. What do you think, Zero?
I also have him in B tier. Like Tutu said, you have to be really careful with your bunkers if you're choosing to go for that route. If it's like ground comp, you're probably fine just because you can ESO the actual waves, and then the hybrid themselves, even if they're air, they're not really an issue. So because you can run your troopers there, shoot them, because troopers have really high DPS, then you just run away, because it takes like 2 years for the nuke to actually go off. So yeah, it's just a lot of things to kind of keep track of, which is why I have him in B tier.
All right, unanimous B. Just to be clear, you said shoot them, right?
Yes.
Okay.
With your
So-
gun dudes.
Yes. How do you guys feel about Prides of Volgasgrad with their multiple Yamatos against flying hybrids?
I mean, probably works once you get there. It's just, I think troopers do the work just fine. Like, air hybrid won't exactly be an issue when the waves aren't there.
Okay, so
It's just
B
not
tier.
fixed.
What prestige we want?
I'd say probably P3. P1 can work if you know the timings for this map and where to contaminate it strike.
Okay. Artanis, where do we have him?
Artanis. So yeah, this guy, he doesn't really have the DPS to burst down hybrid that quickly, so and he also doesn't have the tankiness to really tank the nukes, so yeah, it's gonna be slightly awkward for him. Now the good thing he has is Unbound Fanatics. Those will most likely kill a large portion of the wave, if not like all of it.
Gather the men.
How many, sire?
All of them.
So after that, he only has the hybrid to deal with. If you're lucky, you'll probably even kill like a hybrid with Unbound Fanatics. So then for your army, he'll be dealing like very little units. For the scary waves at least. Like the waves that don't have hybrid, you don't top bar those, because you can fight them just fine, because there's no mutators. But yeah, your Dragoons actually have pretty decent range, so they shouldn't be getting nuked if you're on top of the micro. Now, yeah, that's easier said than done. So
Yeah,
I'd
easier
still
said than
probably
done.
strike on Dragoons. Yeah, yeah,
So-
they stay decently. They're not terrible. I have them like B or C tier.
B or C
It's not too
tier?
bad.
Okay. What do you think, Tutu?
Yeah, I originally put him in B, but I think C, compared to Mengs, I think he is a lot harder to use. So if you want to be a support, but you can use P0 or P1, P2. But
Or Garden
I
Shell?
think if you're trying to be the carrier,
Carrier has arrived.
P3 is going to be better. However, when multiple hybrids come at the same time, when there's like 5 of them at once, you better have a solar bombardment and you better be good at kiting. Otherwise, you're going to lose a lot of stuff.
So-
yeah, C,
What times do you recommend using the Soul Bombardment? So there's the 5-minute wave, the 10-minute wave.
6 minutes.
Sorry, 6-minute
Oh.
wave. Sorry, so if you
Well-
won't have for the 10-minute wave, so you'll use for the
You
11-minute
have
wave?
then 6, 12, 18,
6,
24.
12, 18, 24. Okay, so every 6 minutes you use a Soul Bombardment. So it's treated like a 6-minute
Then-
cooldown.
yeah.
Alright.
Then But then if it's pattern B, there's another hybrid wave at 20 minutes, and you
Yes.
have nothing for that.
Yeah, kind of. So you're kind of screwed. So both of you agree with C tier?
Yeah.
All right, let's put Artanis in C tier. Honestly, that's not as bad as I thought. I was expecting him to be D tier or something. That's where I personally had him. But both of you had him C, so let's put him in C. Dehaka, where do we have him?
Dehaka, his pack leaders can tank nukes. So while you're just like throwing creepers from afar, your pack leaders in the front just taking all the damage and making sure they don't go. And you can dump some primal worms as a just to stop them from getting close to your creeper host. And yeah, that's pretty much it. You throw creepers at them. You can even eat a hybrid, and then your Dehaka dies, and you summon a pack leader. And by the time you need Dehaka again, it's gonna be like he'll just naturally revive, or you just spend a lot of minerals. So I put him in S.
S tier. All right. What do you think, Zero?
Yeah, S tier makes sense. Pack leader handles one side, creepers the
Creeper
other.
hosts,
They don't
yeah.
really care about either of the mutators. So yeah,
Yes.
I think S tier is fair for him.
Just right click whatever it needs right clicking the most. And I also agree. Dehaka is unanimous ST here. Let us move on. Oh wait, prestige doesn't matter. He's the strong either way. But second prestige is also pretty good. Phoenix, where do we have him?
Phoenix, so he'll be. I guess he'll just send champions to the enemy. Now Caldalis will get blown up by the hybrids a lot, but you also just don't really care either. And in fact, it might, in a weird way, sort of benefit him just because it stacks up the avenging protocol the more he dies. So in a way, it's probably still not easier, but yeah, I still think he's really good. See, he doesn't really care about getting blown up as long as your shell farms away, which it should be. The other mutate also doesn't affect him, and he kills things very fast, and he has good mobility with the Arbiter, so he can handle multiple sides. So yeah, I have him in S tier, personally.
Oh, okay, S tier. What do you think, you two?
I put him in S, but now that I think, I guess when there are tunas, if it's pattern B, he's gonna have a lot more trouble because Caldalis can't hit them. Of course, you have other stuff to hit, and you can the Nemesis will clump up, and you can use the Dragoon suit to blast them, which is probably a safer bet because you'll definitely kill all the ground units first, then you summon the Dragoon suit and blast the tunas to death, and they're probably clumped up. So yeah, the enemies aren't stronger, so even if it's an air comp, I don't think it's a big deal. So I think it's like low S or A.
Low S or A? But both of you are okay with S, so, not gonna start a fight where there's no fight. S tier is fine. Wait, prestige-wise, you want the second one still?
Second one.
I'd say so, yeah.
Alright, let's move on. Han and Horner, where do we have them?
Han and Horner with Eminent Domain is a buff, so unless they've somehow ninja patched it,
I actually
Han and
forgot
Horner
about that. Like earlier this
Han and
week,
Horner should be invincible,
yeah.
which means that it's even easier than regular Brutal. Because, yeah, you just have to be careful of ground units walking past the air units. But what you can do is manually target all the ground units that can't hit air while the air units are hitting you. If they walk by, you have other stuff to get rid of them before they get close. So yeah, if you're fighting ground hybrid, then you want Hellbats or Hellions or something to deal with them so that they don't reach the temple. But other than that, you can just put one galleon in each lane and nothing gets past you. So S.
If you say that they make it easier than a non-brutal plus mutation, what does that make them?
Double S.
I would say triple S, but then
Triple S.
I'm not opposed to triple S, I'll be honest.
Wait, we've never given a triple S before. Are we seriously
Because
contemplating that?
it's easier than regular Brutal, because regular Brutal you can actually lose units. This one, they are now no longer capable of dying.
How are we gonna do
And you
that?
don't have to do anything to trigger this bug. It's just there.
You know what? We'll put them in S for now, because I had to think of how to present triple S. We've never had a triple S before, and of all commanders, it's Han and Horner. Oh my goodness. Let's put them in S for now. I'll figure out how to present triple S later. and see if there are any commanders like D or below. For now, let's move on to Karax. What do you think, Zero?
Karax, so space laser good. You'll want vision of the lanes just so you can space laser the hybrid from the air while they're on the way. Now you most likely won't kill them, especially the big ones, so they'll still make it to your base, but you'll kill the waves. And there, I think you just either make some cannons that are really spread out, so when they get nuked, not all of them transfer. Like if only one transfers, you don't really care, just because the rest will handle it. So yeah, because you don't have to deal with the waves for the most part, and it's just hybrid, I don't think it's that difficult, so I have him in S tier.
S tier. Okay. How about you, Tutu?
I think like this one kind of requires you to be, I guess, mindful of your energy usage early on. Because if you just like if you're panic blasting the hybrids because they're starting to walk towards your buildings, you might just lose all your stuff, and you're just like set back pretty far. For this one, I think P1 might actually be better because you have the super chrono every 4 minutes, which is about every time hybrids come. And for the ones that are not every 4 minutes, you save your purifier beam and you kill them. And the other ones are just regular waves, aside from that. And you put like sacrificial batteries or cannons in the front to tank shots while your other stuff hits from far away.
Your other
I
stuff.
don't know if I put them in A because there is a chance that like tunas, just like with Manx, tunas fly past you and then nuke you, and you can't run because you're using static defense. So, yeah, A.
So, Zero, will you try to make a case for S, or are you okay with A?
Not really opposed to it. Confused tunas are scary, and he doesn't have a great way of dealing with it, I guess.
I can't believe we're calling them tunas now. All right, whatever. Both of you have an A.
They're
Let's put
tuna.
an A. I still don't see how they're tunas. Like, they don't look like fish. I've never. Okay, whatever. You guys call them tunas, whatever. Let's move on. Kerrigan, where do we have him?
So Kerrigan with Omega Worms, you can stall for a long, long time. If you're fighting a ground comp, it's pretty easy. If you're fighting air, then you have to use Mutalisks, or Hydras, but you might lose some to Blast. If you use P3, you can snipe the tunas from farther away. You can snipe all the hybrids from farther away, but you have to be really careful about it. And you're also weaker against the regular waves, especially if there's a lot of units. Not completely like can't fight them, but you're weaker. So, oh yeah, and if you lose Kerrigan, then that's it's a
game
lot
over.
of yeah. Well, hopefully no hybrids no like big waves are coming. I put Kerrigan in B just because you have to micro a lot to make sure you do to get value.
Okay. What do you think, Zero?
Yeah, I have her in B also. She's just really unforgiving if you lose Kerrigan, and she doesn't get that much easier the later the game goes, just because her units aren't perfect against mutually assured destruction either. So yeah, I think your best bet is still like going Mutus for the later game. You can use like bounce their attacks off of worms to increase their range, and that way they should stay safe from the nukes. But they're still not the greatest thing, and will struggle with the confused tunas that are flying for your temple. So yeah, B tier.
Okay, both of you have in B. Let's put in B. Prestige wise, you want third one or no prestige?
Anything actually.
Even the
Anything but
first one?
No, I wouldn't say P1. I'd say worms are important for either stalling or just increasing meta range.
All right. So anyone but the first one. You just need Omega Worms.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine with me. Let's move on. Nova, where do we have him?
Nova, so yeah, she will have to be careful because she does not like losing her units to nukes, which will be pretty easy here. Yeah, with that said, she can airstrike one of the waves, then that's hybrid waves, so yeah, that wave will be slightly easier to deal with. She'll most likely just like if it's air hybrid, then she can kind of just like poke it with Liberator and then the Raven missiles. Those you don't really have to worry about getting nuked because it takes a while for them to get off. And if it's ground, you just drop some turrets, and then the Liberation mode just finishes them off from a safe enough range. Now the second wave, if you're like full on carrying, will be a lot harder, just because you won't have the airstrike ready like right away, so you'll still have to fight some of the enemies. So yeah, she's kind of unforgiving if you lose your units and relatively hard micro. So I have her like A or B tier.
A or B tier? What do you think, Tutu?
So yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. If it's ground, you throw turrets. The good thing about Raven turrets is if Amon takes them, they're not gonna hit you. They just block Amon's way, because it just body blocks them. So in a sense, that's actually good. And yeah, so you can dump depending on what kind of hybrids you're fighting. If you're fighting melee, then you put them at the far edge so that of the circle, liberator circle, so they don't get close to your liberators, and you just target down the melee hybrids that are attacking the big hybrids or whatever that's attacking your stuff. Against the air ones, you just kite with Raven liberators and then shoot seeker missiles, and you'll probably weaken them to half health with your airstrike. So you have a lot of ways to deal with stuff. I put Nova in A.
A. Okay, both of you are okay with A. Let's put Nova in A. Personally, have her in B, but both of you have her in A, so my opinion doesn't matter. Let's move on. Raynor, where do we have him?
So Raynor, his best bet against mutually assured destruction against multiple hybrids is you space out lots of spider mines so that when they explode, you don't lose all of them. You just put spider mines all along like the lane. That's probably it. And then against air, I guess you mass Vikings, but or I don't know if you mass Marines. I guess that could work because you can kind of run. But yeah, it's not. It's either way. It's a lot of macro and micro. You need a lot of actions to place all those mines, even with rapid fire, and you gotta keep making army. So yeah, I put him in C.
C tier, kind of like Artie. How about you, Zero?
I have him like C or D tier. Yeah, like Tutu said, he doesn't have a greatest answer to mutual assured destruction. Now, the only hybrid he really has an issue with, it's the melee one, because the ground shooty one, he has a really small nuke. That's it's a small hybrid, I mean. And the tuna fish, they take a while to explode, so you have a decent amount of time to run away from them. So, yeah, it's only like that. Was it like 1 in 3 chance? Not sure how the RNG works on this map, so that you're gonna have a really bad hybrid. But even that, he will kind of struggle with even the regular brutal waves just because it's Raynor, so he's still not the greatest there. Yeah, and he can't even use like bunkers like he normally would want to against some comps because they'll just get stolen. So yeah, I think either C or D.
C or D? Okay, both of you are okay with C, so I guess Rare does fall to C instead of D, which is kind of merciful. Speaking of not merciful, Stetboy, where do we have him?
Stetmann. So yeah, he has Zerglings. Those Zerglings, they tank nukes. So yeah, you also on this map specifically, because you
They
just
get
naturally spread your stat zones throughout the lanes,
yeah.
the Void Thrashers won't really do anything to you. So you can go for a full HP Temple if you really want to pretty easily, because the Void Thrashers will attack the Stellarites. Now,
If
for
you can
the
keep
actual
your you can keep your drones, you can keep your satellite greens and have a drone attacking the
Well,
thrashers.
the slightly bad thing about that is Eminent Domain steals your satellites, I think, so
Do
don't have
they?
like infinite of them, but
They get destroyed. They don't get stolen.
Yeah, I think they get
oh, yeah.
destroyed.
I guess that's better than
Yeah,
yeah,
getting better than getting
still
stolen.
lose. But yeah, I think even with that, I think he's still really good. Igor just destroys the wave, then your links handle the hybrid, then you teleport to the other side, or you just run really fast. Yeah, so I think S tier.
All right, what do you think, Tutu?
Yeah, I put him in S because he doesn't care about the nukes and he can just one click destroy the whole wave, and then he can kite the hybrids while the Zerglings are doing the tanking. If you want to spend your gas, you can use it on infestors. If you don't want to bother with that, then don't use it. You don't need
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
One thing that you should do if you don't normally do this is you should clear the lane just to make sure like they don't send units or build things that attack your Statolites. So you always can get to like you can like spawn camp them, or at least build evolution chambers to stall the waves.
Okay.
So yeah, that's
S tier. Only a single S though. Just one S for Stat Boy. Let's move on. Stukov. Where do we have him?
Stukov P3. They don't care about the nukes, so yeah, it's fine. The only problem is the wandering tunas. If they fly over your bunkers and explode, you're gonna lose a lot of stuff. So you need to find a way to engage them. I would make some liberators to just like poke at them, or like when you put a barracks at each side so that when you send your dudes one way, you can make regular marines the other way and then send them the other way so that they attack. If you're fighting ground, then it's just no problem. You can even add tanks to make things easier. I put Stukov in A
A tier. Why not S?
because the chance that you lose bunkers to explosions.
That makes sense. What do you think, Zero?
Yeah, I think A tier's fine for him. You just send the dudes on the lane and then you send it to the other lane. You don't really care if they die. So yeah, A tier makes sense.
When you lose the bunkers as uprooted bunkers, do they get stolen?
I don't think so, because they're then considered units when they're uprooted.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So you can theoretically at least not give anyone the bunkers but uproot them before they die. If you're that fast, let's move on. Swann, what do we have him?
Swann, so I've done this with P1 personally. Not sure if it's the best option. Just wanted to try it out. So what I did in the early game is I just made factories, then I floated them to the side of the lane. That way you don't really have to worry about the early hybrid until it's like the big double waves. So the early game's pretty easy for him. Then once there's a lot of hybrids, where it starts to become pretty tricky. But with the factories, you can just position them on a lane. Then you can P1 drill the tuna fish hybrid and the other hybrid, and that will deal with it pretty well. So those shouldn't touch your turrets. And the turrets themselves will handle the waves pretty well, especially because it's mostly just going to be ground units that are coming for you, because the air units will be stalled out by the factories. So it's still pretty hard to do and gets pretty difficult in the later game, which is why I have him like A to B tier.
A to B tier. What do you think, Tutu?
Yeah, when Amon takes your floating factories, he doesn't do anything with them.
He's just standing there, menacingly.
So, yeah, so it's fine if they blow up. It's massing floating factories is fine. It even deals with the immortals that might hurt his turrets. So yeah, and you can, if you're afraid of tunas flying by, you can just put a bunch of missile turrets in, not near the temple because they'll shoot the temple, but like at the ramps so that they'll turn around and fight or something, or they want to use their stasis spell and they'll stop there. And then you can also point the laser at anyone that's heading towards the temple instead of fighting your buildings. Then you can slow them down the laser. So yeah, I put Swann in A.
Swann in A. Okay, both of you have him in A. Let's put Swann in A. Tychus, where do we have him?
Tychus plays pretty normally. The only difference is that you can't use Sirius's explosion because it gets taken instead.
Not seriously
But
good.
other than that, yeah. For the 18-minute and 24-minute waves, the one with lots of hybrids, you have Odin, which nukes everything, sometimes even like the smaller hybrids, and then it can also tank some nukes. You can then medevac to the other side and fight that side too. I put Tychus in S.
S tier, wow. How about you, Zero?
Yeah, S tier makes sense for him. The Tychus and Nugs probably just one-shot waves, then the hybrid themselves are dealt with by Sam. It's somewhat decent micro if you Like, you're not used to Tychus, but it shouldn't be that difficult still. And the Odin's good, and even if you do get nuked, which you shouldn't because you're only microing like one unit on each side, but even if you get nuked, you won't die instantly. So he's really forgiving. So I think S tier makes sense.
Okay. Both we have an S tier. Let's put Tychus in S tier. What prestige do we have here? Second one?
Second.
Okay. Vorazun. Where do we have him?
Vorazun. So yeah, this will be really awkward if you don't get Terran Bio. Yeah,
Yep.
she's not greatest, even if you're fighting like regular enemies, and then you also have to deal with exploding hybrid, which she isn't the greatest against. Like Shadow
Yep.
Fury is good, but you will like you don't have enough to like one shot the entire wave. And especially if you get air, then you also have to mix in Corsairs, which means you even have less DTs to kill the hybrid. Now Black Hole is somewhat okay still. Like it allows you to like snipe the hybrid.
Yeah.
Especially if it's air, you just right click it with your Corsairs. But even then, she's not the greatest, and it's a lot of knowledge and micro to do.
Yes.
So I have her in like C tier.
C tier. What do you think, Tutu?
Yep, and another thing is that the tunas are not detectors, and Corsairs are invisible. So even if you're poking them, they keep flying. They don't stop to turn around. So they're not gonna stop, and you have to do something to make them stop, or you have to kill them, or you have to black hole them. So yeah, it's
miserable
not
time.
fun. It's not good. So you do get a second life because you have invisible units. You get a second life, but still, like when there are so many explosions going off, if you're not careful, you don't have enough lives.
Yes.
I put Vorazun in C.
C. Okay, that's actually kind of generous. I put Vorazun in D tier personally, but both we have in C. Let's put Vorazun in C. Zagara. Where do we have him?
Oh, Zagara, you have a lot of free banelings. So
Yeah.
whether it's P1 or P3, you just roll them in and kill them. So if you're don't F2 in, just like drag click a
Box
group,
select.
roll them in, and then box drag whatever, and then send them in, send in some more. And you also, if you don't need bio launchers, but I guess you can if you want. I put Zagara in S.
S tier. There we go. What do you think, Zero?
I personally had her like A tier. Like I don't think she's that like S tier easy, but I do think she's good. It's like Zagara that is meant to like basically solo the early game. It can kind of get messed up if it's like a slightly bad composition. Like no, she won't die, which is why I still think she's pretty good. It's just it becomes slightly harder. And in the late game, like, people may get overwhelmed if they have to like send groups on multiple sides and not just a move in. So yeah, I think A tier personally.
Tutu, are you gonna make a case for S, or is A fine?
Not a strong S. Like I know the problems that could occur, because like if you're mismanaged, like if you're not macroing or something, she's basically Stukov without the possibility of like losing your bunkers to an explosion. But there is a chance that you lose your whole army to an explosion because you weren't careful. So in that sense, I guess A is fine.
Okay. I personally did have her in S, by the way. I don't think she will have any problems with if any competent person would use her. And another thing with her is you can ensure that the flying hybrids never reach the temple because you have Scourge. But I guess she is kind of weak to Corsairs, so that kind of sucks for her. But I still have her in S personally, but my opinion doesn't matter. She's an A. Zeratul, where do we have him?
Okay, Zeratul. So normally you just go cannons against mutual destruction, but because I'm an Eminent Domain, you don't really want to do that because the projections can get taken over by Amon, and if you're fighting near the temple, which you shouldn't, those will kill the temple. So then you have two options. You can either still say I'm going cannons and then just be careful where you place them, or cancel them like right before they get killed so they don't get converted.
You can
Or
still
you make units.
you can still cancel them after they get converted.
Yes, but
It's pretty funny.
You can. Yeah. The other option is just going like units. I assume it's gonna be stalkers, just so you can like blink out with nukes.
Yeah, the triple blink, pretty good.
Yeah, that you still don't really want to be getting nuked, so you have to keep an eye on them. So yeah, he's not bad. He's just kind of unforgiving if you keep losing your units, which is why I have him in A tier instead of S.
A tier. What do you think, Tutu?
Yeah, I don't have. I put him in A just because you can do cannons okay, not cannons good. Cannons okay, or
Cannon's okay.
enforcers to push them back. Enforcers can push back air units with stalkers, I guess, to blink away, double blink, triple blink, and then they disappear.
Enforcers,
Your
more like
legions are probably
bouncers.
gonna die to one explosion.
Yeah,
Legions
probably.
are gonna die to one explosion.
Yeah.
So that's yeah.
So
No,
A,
A is fine.
A is fine. Okay, so both of you have an A. Let's put Zeratul in A. So, all right, with the power of movie magic, we now have a triple S. And just to show how far it is above the rest, because we've never had a triple S before, we're gonna do the crowning of the first ever triple S live. And Haren Horner is not only a double S; they're a triple S. By virtue of being two commanders. No, not even that. By virtue of literally making the mutation easier than a regular brutal, because their galleons literally never die. So, do we have a double S?
No.
Don't think so.
I don't think so.
Don't think so. Okay, do we have... Who's top of S?
Stetmann or
Statman.
Dehaka? Yeah, one of them.
One
I
of
think
them.
Stetmann's
So the other one is the second S. Who's third?
Tychus.
Tychus. And then Fenix. Who's top of A?
Zagara.
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 And then...
Alarak.
Okay.
Not Stukov?
Stukov.
Hmm.
I guess it could be Stukov. Alarak's better against like he's more composition resistant, but it's slightly hard time. It's a hybrid.
I guess.
Okay. And then... Abathur?
Hmm. I think Swann, right?
Okay.
Because he can
I'd
slow
rather
the.
have Abathur and then Swann personally.
Abathur then Swann?
I'd say so. Like Ravages are pretty easy.
And Storm
Like,
was
you can
Swann
move them away, unlike
Swann
Swan Parrots.
slows them, so they don't even get close.
Yeah, Swann does slow them.
Fair enough.
Although, I do think that Locusts are kind of more effective at like actually destroying them. You know, before they reach turrets that can get taken
You
over.
can also just make Ravagers and then bile down the hybrid.
That works too.
Ah.
We can call it a tie if you want, but I think
Swarm?
Abathur is ever
Sure.
so slightly better.
Swarm hosts, like, if there are multiple hybrids, they are sometimes in danger because one explosion will kill all of them, and then the next one will walk forward,
I guess that's
and
true.
you have to move your Locust. You have to move your Storm host back.
So what? Do we put Swann above Abathur? Stukov is above both
I mean,
of them, right?
you can use Ravagers instead.
Yeah, I'd say
but-
Stukov is better than both of them.
Okay. So Swann over Abathur. And then
Yes.
Karax?
Karax, Nova,
Karax,
Zeratul.
Nova Zeratul. Alright.
I'd rather Zeratul personally than Nova.
Okay, that's fine.
Link. It's pretty
Yeah.
good.
Who's top of B?
Mangsk?
Okay.
Thanks.
Arcturus then Kerrigan. He made her into a monster. Who's top of C?
And I think C tier is correct.
C tier is already correct me already. Alright. Now here's an interesting question. Is there any combination of S below who are better than Hot and Horn on their own?
No.
How can that compare?
None? No one can compare?
No.
Compared to
Yes.
someone who makes the game easier than the usual Bruno.
You put Galleon on a lane and then you win.
Alright, how about if we include the S tiers? Like, is there a combination of anyone who is better than Hot and Horn on their own?
No.
No. Horror is so far above everyone else. That's why they're triple S tier. There we go. Social security system is Hot and Horner. That's it. Our first triple S, and of all commanders, is Hot and Horner. Guys, watch Tychus videos. I will link them down below. I'll see you guys next time.